We are back on the 0 Hour. As always, I am your host, Richard RJ Eskow. A few days ago, a number of people on the left were shocked to hear of the unexpected death of Kymone Zeese. Kymone Zeese was an activist, a writer, political organizer, and we did not, I don't think anybody saw this coming. He had been on the show, I believe, once, which may come up. And someone who was close to Kevin and who introduced me to Kevin is our good friend Kymone Freeman. You know Kymone. He is the co-founder of We Act Radio. He's an activist and an artist and a playwright as well. And he joins us now. So first of all, Kymone, thanks for coming back on the program.
Always a pleasure, even under these circumstances.
Yeah, I know it's sad, and I'm sorry for your loss.
Yeah, thank you.
So tell us about Kymone Zeese.
Kymone Zeese was first and foremost my mentor of 20 years. Had it not been for Kymone Zeese, We Act Radio wouldn't exist. He's probably the single most transformational presence in my life. If John Brown was the greatest white man America ever produced, then Kymone Zeese was the greatest white man I've ever known. And I feel some kind of way saying that to you because both you great men helped me in my artistic endeavors in my project on John Brown, and you took the time to portray him in a short film, and Kevin took the time to do the reading on a stage reading on stage. So I honor both of you guys. But Kevin put resources behind me at a very pivotal moment as a young man, and his presence changed the trajectory of my life.
So should I tell you about my history with Kevin?
Yes, I will.
It's funny in a way, but looking back on it, and especially even at this sad time. But Kevin came on the show. I think you made the introduction, but I had not met him at that point. And we had a good conversation, and it was fine. We talked about a lot of things. And then just as we were winding up, I made a comment about, I wanted Medicare for all, single payer, but at least the Affordable Care Act was better than nothing anymore. Yeah, well, you would say that. You work for a Democratic Party front group. And I couldn't respond because I was out of time, but I was, you know me, Kymone, right?
Yeah.
I have this, reasonable persona, but I do have a little bit of a temper, right? And I was really pissed. And so I thought, well, that guy's never coming back on this program. I'm not having anything. That was a rabbit punch, blah, blah, blah. I got and then I read that he was leaving the Democratic Party. And I thought, what? You were in the Democratic Party and I wasn't when you said that. So, I kind of built a resentment, right? But then I heard the story of what he had done for you at some event where you were talking, and he was there. And two things struck me. One, it's a beautiful story of how he, mentored you and guided you and helped you. It shows the character of a really great person. And secondly, like in a room with him, because we did this by phone, this interview, he was just like, he had a benevolence about him that, he had a reputation as a firebrand and all that, which is, you can be a firebrand and be benevolent, but he had a kind of kindness or something about warmth about him that really struck me. Both those things completely changed my impression of him. So I don't know how does that strike you? You knew him a lot better than me.
That sounds about right, because he wasn't into polite politics, and for those who are watching and are not aware of the greatness of Kymone Zeese, let me give you a point of reference. He was a lawyer like William Kunstler. He was a political writer like Emma Goldman. He was a third-party candidate that ran for national office like Eugene Debs. And finally, he was an activist in the highest regard like Abby Hoffman. He embodied all of those personas at a high level. and he made his bones in drug reform in the midst of the drug war. He was able to stop Barack Obama's Trans-Pacific Partnership trade agreement that would have been exploitative, to say the least, for several countries. He camped out at Freedom Plaza in the coldest months of the year during Occupy DC, which was the Occupy Wall Street version here, the nation's capital. He led that. He also camped out in front of the FCC, fighting the attacks on net neutrality. And the list goes on and on. And he was a trusted confidant for the Pulitzer Prize winning journalist Chris Hedges. Chris Hedges went to Kevin Zeese for information. That is just how versed he was. And when I say that he was a transformational figure, you know, Kevin went to Cuba. I wanted to go to Cuba. Kevin went to Venezuela. I wanted to go to Venezuela. And I think that what was often missing in our discussions about leadership is mentorship. And I'm always suspicious whenever I come across any leader in any capacity, in any endeavor, that is not mentoring a young person. If they don't have young people around them, I'm suspicious of them. And in the Black community, in our history, there has been some resistance against passing the baton, as they say. And Kevin, I'm proud to say, didn't fit that that mold. He definitely transcended that, and it's also a rare occasion where you have white radicals and Black radicals coexisting. And when I say that, because the white radical might feel uncomfortable criticizing anyone Black in the progressive space, and the Black radical might feel uncomfortable differentiating between whites in the progressive space of being a radical or progressive or what have you. And his relationship and our relationship, and to your relationship and my relationship as well, is, and I think that's the success of We Act Radio, is that we have actually identified and built upon the Venn diagram between white radicalism and Black radicalism. It's very seldom housed under the same tent. We have identified ourselves as the true progressives because it's not a Black station, because Black is not synonymous as being progressive alone. You know, Candace Owens is Black,
Right.
so. Right. The Attorney General for Louisville, Kentucky, that refused to indict officers in Breonna Taylor's case is Black. So we no longer identify, use politics to be identified that way. We identify ourselves by our agenda, and our agenda is progressive, radically progressive. And Kevin was the first person that helped me understand that I had to see the world measured by the actions and the content of person's positions. You know, do you know how hard it was to talk to Black people about anything that Barack Obama was doing wrong?
Oh, I do know. Trust me.
You know,
and a lot of white Democrats too. You couldn't say, to this day, even there are a lot of people, liberal Democrats, you cannot criticize anything Barack Obama did. So,
and that's how he almost got the Trans-Pacific Partnership passed through, this secret trade deal that had been exploitative to so many countries. And Kevin Zeese, not single-handedly, but he led the charge that dismantled that, and it made it toxic for any politician to sign off on it.
I still remember when an MSNBC commentator said, anybody in 2010, when I was one of, first people really that I knew of criticizing Obama from the left, said anybody who criticizes Obama is just, any white person criticizing Obama is covertly displaying racism. That was,
wow.
Yeah. And she published that in a magazine. I remember those days, and that's directly contradictory to the left I've known about, that for so many years was the only place where there was real solidarity between black and white people who understood where their interests aligned, where they didn't, and how where they didn't have the same interests, they could at least support one another.
Absolutely, absolutely. And he was for equity. He was about sharing resources, and we oftentimes have problems with people who have resources who do not share those resources with the people that need them the most. And like he was writing grants for me. We didn't get the grants. He could have said, "Okay, well, I did my little neoliberal efforts. I tried to help the poor black kid get a start.
Right.
Didn't happen. Good luck." No, he put his own resources up and funded me to attend the national conferences on the people of color and the war on drugs. And I went around to cities all over the country attending these conferences, which was part of my training that helped me formulate my position and also inform me on this position, and then help me understand that you can't be a one-dimensional person. It's not like you're a drug reform activist. It's not like you're a campaign against the death penalty activist. You can't solely be that, because you have to see the intersectionality of all these issues.
Right.
It helped me understand how to see all of those cross sections, and then how to address them, how to build upon them, and how to fight against them. And most importantly, he was a funny guy. He was the opposite of the stereotypical burnt out activist. He never was that. I know him for 20 years. I probably only seen him mad twice in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them was because of me. So, but
I won't ask what you did to make him mad.
Yeah, we had some technical difficulties,
Uh-huh.
and we couldn't get the show together that day. But my point is that he made it so that he identified that you have to enjoy the beautiful struggle. Don't let this thing stress you out. Enjoy the fact that you're doing all you can to resist, and you building upon all of the ancestors that came before us that contributed fighting against fascism and oppression. And so whether we get to see it come to its fruition or not, we go to bed sleeping easy at night, knowing that we did all we can do for the next generation. And it's just a shame that now we're at the verge of a revolution in this country, and Kevin's not here. He was one of the people that I turned to, my go-to guy for my questions and guidance and information. And now I feel like I got it from here. I got the baton. I had the pleasure of being one of the people to do a eulogy at his services. That was a great honor, a great honor. My first eulogy was for my first mentor, and I think I'm ready.
Well, I think you are too, and I'm delighted to hear that. Kevin, I know, annoyed and a lot of people, and he made a lot of people uncomfortable. And it's always been my position that if you're not annoying somebody, you're probably not changing things, because you know what I mean? Change is not a comfortable process. Change is there's friction involved, and friction can burn a little bit. But the great changes that have happened in society have happened because people had the courage to make other people uncomfortable, not to be deterred by that, not to seek it out, because then you're a troll, but not to be deterred by that, in order to say what you believe to be true, in order to share your vision of not of the society we can have, that we do have, I should say, not of the society that maybe if we tweak this or that, the injustice would be slightly less, but the society we should have, the society we can have, the society we must have. And to me, Kevin ticked all those boxes, but I'll give you the last word on that.
Well, I always had to tell this story. Kevin ran for U.S. Senate, representing the state of Maryland, and he ran against Ben Cardin, Democrat, and Michael Steele, Republican. And it was one of the rare instances where a third-party candidate was allowed into the debates. But it wasn't because of charity or because any act of sign or progress. It was because it was Michael Steele's strategy to split the Democratic vote for Ben Cardin. is why he was allowed into those debates. So I attended all those debates. I feel like Kevin won all those debates. Unbiased opinion, actually. But the Washington Post, when they covered the debate, they framed it with only the Republican candidate and the Democratic candidate, but they had 5 arms.
Oh,
So
really?
you see 2 guys in the picture with 5 arms, and Kevin made sure that he photobombed that corporate omission, so that they had to explain where that 5th arm came from.
Well,
That's Kevin Zeese.
well, that's a great story, and I'll tell you what, we mourn his loss, but you and I have to be those arms of the people that aren't represented in mainstream media. We have to be those hands that show up in the picture now when nobody wants them there. So I guess that's our job going forward. Kymone, Freeman, and with that, always great to see you, my friend, and thanks for coming on the program.
Always a pleasure. And Kevin's last words were general strike, that the people have the power. If we say no, we're not going to do it. The government is illegitimate and we're not going to obey it. And so I hope everyone will internalize that and support a general strike if we have a constitutional crisis this election.
General strike. That's my top of my to-do list. So again, thanks, Kymone. And we'll be right back after this. I am Richard RJ Eskow, and this is The Zero Hour.